Okay, judge ready? Opponents ready? Okay, my time starts now. I'm honored to stand here to give my constructive speech on the stand on the Purse side. Definition: refugees are people who are being forced to leave their homes or their country because of war or persecution. And if something is permissible, it is considered to be acceptable because it does not break any laws or rules. Developed countries are countries with advanced economies. Further, to win this debate, the purpose to prove that most refugee restrictions are permissible, and the economies to prove that all restrictions are impermissible. Condition 1. The national interest in developed countries should be prioritized. Sub A. The employment and welfare. The economy is one of the most important factors for a developed country. However, around 1.6 million refugees gained asylum in Europe from 2014 to 2017, according to Apolitical. More than 1 million unemployed agents potentially enter the labor market in the receiving country. They can accept hard work and low pay as they come from foreign countries. Citizens could lose their jobs, and this could affect the income and employment of citizens and lead to consumption and investment reduction. Also, as AI takes many jobs, there won't be much job opportunities left. A country is a gigantic group of people who unite together and protect their own interests and safety. If refugees come in great numbers, they will crash the welfare system, resulting in too little welfare for each person. The purpose of many countries and their military forces is to ensure the interests of their own are not robbed by others. If a country just randomly let refugees in its borders without any restrictions, not only will the country face population explosion, but also lose the purpose and the need for military forces, and even the customs and border security itself. And what's the point of having a government if it let any outsiders in without any security measures and standards? There are 196 countries in the world. If people's interests and personal welfare cannot be protected, why should they stay in that country? Sub B, security. The number of refugees worldwide has climbed for 6 consecutive years. Some 68 million people are now displaced by violence and persecution, according to The Economist. Too many of them will definitely cause security problems in countries. In 2016, more than half of the refugees in the Netherlands had an income below the low-income threshold, according to a report in CBS. For all Syrian refugee households, more than 3/4 were living on low income. For them, the cost of crime is actually below zero, as they cannot live anymore. So, they're likely to become smugglers or thieves in order to get money. So some of them may become beggars, and others can cause social turbulence by stealing, robbing, or commit other crimes to make a living. Also, there's a serious possibility that some refugees are actually terrorists or have potential of becoming them in the future. They may disguise as refugees and get into your country. For example, one of the men who attacked Paris falsely declared himself to be a Syrian and eventually made his way to Paris, where he was one of 3 men who blew themselves up. Furthermore, refugees may bring some fatal or infectious diseases like HIV, SARS, etc., and may infect the citizens and pass on the disease. Therefore, we strongly claim that there at least should be some restrictions which include criminal records and health examinations before letting them in the borders, or else they would bring huge disasters like disease explosion or terrorist attacks, social chaos, and economic crisis. Condition 2. All countries in the world have sovereignty. A country's government has the right to rule the country and issue laws for themselves, and other countries, including the UN, have no power to negotiate their own internal affairs. According to the international law, resettlement of refugees is not obligatory under international or domestic law. If a country has the right to cite its own laws and who it associates with, then it has the right to refuse entry to anyone. According to a famous expert philosopher, Christopher Wellman, every legitimate state has the right to close its doors to all potential immigrants. And refugees desperately seek asylum from incompetent or corrupt political regimes that are either unable or unwilling to protect their citizens' basic moral rights. The country should have complete access and control over border security. We will argue that the country should be the one to decide who shall they permit to enter. If there aren't restrictions, refugees will be the one to select the countries they get in. So, honorable judges, we have perfect proof that refugee restrictions are permissible, and we shall win this debate. Thank you.
So my time starts now. So I'll start with the definition first. We define refugees as people who have fled war, violence, conflict, or persecution and have crossed an international border to find safety in another country, according to UNHCR. And also, we define restrictions as a limiting condition or measure, especially illegal. Our framework is, since all human beings are equally important, so whichever team proves that their team benefits people globally should win this debate. Contention 1. On balance, huge long-term benefits to host countries. Refugees definitely are not an economic burden in the long run, so at first they will have to rely on government support. Later, they make up for their street taxes. According to National Bureau of Economic Research in 2017, after about 10 years, refugees mostly don't use welfare. Estimates show that over a 20-year period, refugees pay $21,000 more in taxes than they receive in benefits. The refugees make economic benefits just after 20 years. They will continue to contribute in taxes, and their children will also be contributors when they grow up. Refugees are also more likely to be entrepreneurs, which means that they can create jobs and improve local economy. According to data and Global Economy and Development in 2018, migrants engage in entrepreneurship at much higher rates than natives. In the US, for example, while migrants are 15% of the population, they represent 25% of entrepreneurs. By creating new businesses, migrants also allow new jobs for everyone. Small firms, in turn, are the engine of job growth. In the US, they create about 1.5 million jobs every year. Also, with an aging population in Europe, they need new workforce to keep their economy stable. According to the newscientist.com, Europe needs 1.5 million migrants a year to keep its working age population from falling. Impact. Accepting refugees can benefit the host country significantly. Its economy will get improved and its citizens can have a better life standard. Intention 2. The amount of refugees is just right for them to be taken. There's currently only 1.4 million refugees that need resettlement in 2019, according to the UN News. This number is still divided by many developed countries. This means the negative impact which our opponent may state, like terrorism or short-term burden on economy or job still, wouldn't have a great impact. Accepting the small number of refugees can only make it overall beneficial to the countries because of the tax effect. Contention 3, the bad life quality that restrictions place on refugees. Most refugees are in the host countries. Refugee restrictions prevent the refugee from benefiting the country and benefiting themselves. Refugee restrictions led to unequal economic outcomes, as seen in Kenya. According to Alexander Bett's study in Oxford in 2018, one of the main reasons for different economic outcome between refugees and hosts is that refugees face a different regulatory environment. Refugees are required to apply and pay a fee for movement pass in order to leave the camp. Refugee entrepreneurs are disproportionately likely to incur in business costs. Refugee restrictions also makes the refugees don't have enough food. According to law professor McCrea in 2018, Uganda consistently expressed their inability to access to adequate food and food security because of restrictions. Keeping refugees in camps and giving them restrictions isn't the best way for the solution. It makes them dramatically harder to work and it doesn't give them a good living standard. It harms both the country and the refugees.
Okay, first let me ask you a question. How many refugees will you accept?
First, I'll say I'll accept the refugee to a point in which the government can pay for the short-term costs.
Okay, you said that we will accept refugees as much as we can, but that counts as a restriction, because if we accept refugees as much as we can, then it will be a restriction, as there will be some of the refugees who aren't accepted, who are outside the borders, because you're just accepting refugees according to the affordableness of your government, which means that if you can't pay for the refugees, you will accept them. But if there are too many refugees, you can't pay for them, you won't accept them. And that's a restriction.
Okay, so I'll explain that. In your world, many countries have restrictions. That's why many refugees get crowded into one single country. However, in our world, the developed countries, they don't have much restrictions. So the refugee can be sent to these countries by the UN, and there'll be a share of burden on these countries.
So what's your question?
So do you have any evidence about how many jobs are still because of refugees?
How many jobs are still because of refugees? Okay, I have some evidence. Well, firstly, I'll explain. Refugees, as you said, that they want to live, so they want to work. And so they will definitely try to compete with the local people to get some jobs. And that will definitely affect the local people, and the local people cannot get as much jobs as they want. And they will be very angry because refugees are to keep taking their jobs, and they can't even ensure their personal welfare and their personal interests that are being in this country. Instead of having these interests, their interest was robbed by refugees, and the employment was robbed by refugees too. And so now I believe it's my turn to ask you a question. Are refugees willing to work?
Like many of them are, and they are going to work and they are going to be beneficial in the future because, as I already stated in my evidence, estimates show that refugees pay $21,000 more in taxes than they receive in benefits. And also, I want to say that Europe, the population is aging, so they need 1.5 million migrants a year to keep its economy stable, and isn't that enough vacant jobs?
But what about AI? As we mentioned in our constructive speech, that AI is now taking many jobs in our countries. So AI is already taking these jobs. For example, in the car companies, in the car factories, they're taking jobs. And for example, dishwashers and robots, they're all taking jobs.
To rebuttal? 30 minutes. Oh, 30 seconds, sorry.
Judge ready? Upon ready, so my time starts now. First of all, about your framework. Your framework says everybody is, first of all, equally born, and you said about who benefits and who wins. But since we have seen, as our today debating topic is about the refugee restrictions in those countries should be permissible. So we should debate on which is permissible or not, and not about who benefit and the equally born. And then, first of all, I will talk about condition one, about the economy. And you said about the 2017, you had what's called National Statistics Bureau or something, but you didn't mention which country it is, and there's many developed countries in the whole world, so you can't even say which country it is, so you can't even explain clearly. And second of all, there's already unemployment in developed countries, and I can give out the statistics, like in Italy, according to Trade Economy, they got the unemployment of 10.5. And also, according to us, we have already said about the AI problem, that according to McKinsey and company, workers displaced under midpoint automation scenario is 400 million, 50% globally. And for Germany, who has spent many refugees, they got 24%, which is really high. So when the refugees come into their countries, what they will do? They'll be taking jobs, and they'll be jobless, and the social will be in great chaos, and there'll be protection and hate to those refugees as well. And also, you're going to confuse what is the refugee and what is migrant together. You are always saying about the U.S., they're going to have a migrant economic growth, but what is the migrant and refugee? Refugee are ones, according to our definition, escape from war or persecution. But what migrants is, they want to immigrate migrants into another country for a better life. There are very two different concepts. And your second condition isn't clear about what you're saying, so I'll skip that. And your third condition is about what they are lack about, like you said about the food, and you said the camps isn't the best solution. But can you give out a better solution than those refugee camps for now? Because this topic we are debating on now, we are debating on about refugee restrictions are permissible. So please give out the better solution for that. And also, you said about those refugees, they may become like, I didn't hear clarity, but you said about entrepreneurs. But please give an example about how do they do this. And also, let's move to our condition. Our condition will want us about, first of all, the national interest in the welfare system, which is a clash with going to our first contention. But we have already said in the Netherlands, more than half of the refugees, they're low incomers and they can't pay the taxes, which is a very serious problem about that for sure. But you're always going to see about that in other countries and the countries that we do not know, their tax paying was really high by those refugees, and we went on this point as well. And second of all, we said about the security problem, which is maybe in a low possibility, but also they get great impact, and we have already said before. And then we also talk about the sovereignty, which is every country has the obligation to refuse to receive refugees. Like you said about those refugees, they can bring the economy. The country has their own decision. So according to our framework, I think we should win. Thank you.
So my time starts now. As the second speaker of the Conti, I'll rebut some of my opponent's points. Their first assertion is about national interest, and their first subpoint is about that refugee take away jobs. However, in fact, according to the Global Economy and Development, in the US alone, refugees make more than 1.5 million jobs per year. Instead of taking jobs, they're creating jobs steadily for their citizens. So this means that they are actually creating more jobs, creating revenues for the government and for the citizens, so the citizens can have an income to feed their families. And then the second sub-point is about how accepting all these refugees would cause population explosion. However, there is only around 1.4 million refugees that need resettlement in 2019, according to the UN News. This means this amount of number makes to less than 0.01% of all the population in the developed countries. So they will not have a huge impact on the developed countries alone. However, they will have an impact on the developing countries, which are taking in refugees if the restriction starts on. And also their second assertion is about security, and then their first subpoint is about how refugees will create violence and security problems. So first of all, the citizens of developed countries also have a high criminal rate. But shall we take the opportunity for them to survive and just abandon them? No country would do that. And the same should go to refugees because they're simply people, and people are all the same. And actually, the crimes all happen because of racial injustice. And unless we absolutely solve racial inequality, this problem will exist. However, by having a refugee restriction, the problem is even more severe because the refugees themselves feel this unjust before they even enter the country. So by having a refugee restriction, the refugees will actually become more angry since they're not accepted into the countries. And also, they have stated there is the risk of terrorist attacks. But the risk is simply too small to be considered. The risk is 1 in 3.6 billion, according to the NATO. So shall we stop 3.6 billion people from entering a country, from saving them lives, and simply just to stop that one terrorist? No, we shouldn't. We should value lives. We can save more lives by taking them in. And also, their last assertion is about international laws. So they have stated like they should be the one, the country should be the one deciding who is entering the country, how many refugees, which refugees are entered in the country. But however, the process of selecting refugee is actually a UN process and have nothing to do with this motion. So whether there is a restriction or not, that problem is going to exist. And also, they stated the refugees cannot pay taxes. However, according to the National Bureau of Economical Research, refugees actually make $21,000 more than they use. So by accepting a lot of refugees, countries can actually make a lot of revenues out of them. And also, we can afford for all refugees because Europe alone needs 1.5 million refugees to support for the labor sources. And this means we need these refugees for labor sources because we need them to produce our goods. And therefore, we should not have a restriction because we need all the refugees we have. So thank you.
First of all, I have to ask you a question about, have you given out any example in Europe about the job and the job vacancy? Can you give out the data and statistics about what's the European countries' job vacancies?
Oh yes, according to the newscientist.com, Europe alone needs 1.5 million refugees to support its labor sources. And also, do you have any evidences about how this AI is going to affect us?
I've already said it in my rebuttal speech. According to McKinsey and Company, workers displaced under midpoint automation scenario, it is 400 million, 15% of the jobs globally, and for Germany will be 24%. I've already condemned that.
But they're equal for both citizens and refugees, so it shouldn't be considered in this case.
But well, when citizens, they're local people, they just live here, they're born here. But when they're going to have the job, they can have the same job as their grandfather. But when those refugees come, and also the AI has information, it'll make it much, much more difficult than what he has done with his ancestor, right?
You have to know the cost of recycling these goods have also decreased. And also, I believe it's your turn to ask a question.
And it is my turn to ask a question. And then also, what you're always saying about what developing countries are receiving refugees, we're saying about developed countries, right?
But developing countries are the current takers of refugees because 84% of all refugees.
But mainly, today we're talking about where refugee restrictions should be taken in developed countries, which are countries who are fully developed. So we should mainly state on that point. We're not talking about what's really happening in developing countries.
The developing countries also matter because the refugees' lives are simply too miserable in these developing countries. They're living.
But are their lives being better in the developed countries?
Of course, living in a cramped.
Do you have any proof for that?
Yes, we do.
Since you can't prove your own point, so I think you fall on this point. It is your turn to ask your
I want to
question.
say this, according to the law professor Marcia Oliver, a good that consistently express their inability to access their right to adequate food and food security. That means we have to feed these refugees into the developed countries because that's where we have the amount of resources we need.
Thank you. And also, how many have the refugees enjoy your kind of food and water?
I need 30 seconds. Okay, judge ready? Opponents ready? My time starts now. Firstly, I would like to correct you about your misunderstanding on restrictions. You have admitted in Crossfire 1 that you said that we should take as much refugees as we can. That counts as a restriction because there's always some refugees that you don't take because you're just taking it on your limit. So there must be a limit about how many refugees we will take if you take it as much as we can. And let's move on to your contention. Your contention one says that refugees can bring huge benefits to developed countries, for example, the economy. Refugees use welfare and pay taxes. However, you didn't mention an example for exactly in which country are refugees paying taxes. And also, as I mentioned, AIs are already taking jobs. AI and robotics will displace millions of jobs, according to a survey. One of the key findings in December 2017 is that 60% of occupations have at least 30% of constituted work activities that could be automated. The report expects 400 million workers to be displaced by AI technology. So this is a very possible aspect, and refugees will only make things worse. And your third contention said that restrictions can make refugees don't have food. Keeping refugees in camps is not the best solution. But do you think that going in developed countries is a better solution than a refugee camp? You can affect millions of citizens who live in these countries. Then we worry about their safety all day, and also their jobs were taken. However, although refugees have their own rights, the country also has rights. These citizens also have rights. You just let the refugees in, but you don't care anything about the citizens' rights. You're just damaging their national interests and their personal welfare. Will they be happy about it? And also, are you going to prioritize the rights of the 68 million people or the rest of the world? You're just ignoring the rest of the world's needs and welfares. And let's move on to our contention. Our first contention, sub A, is economy and welfare. We said refugees create jobs, but how do they exactly provide jobs? And thank you.
I have 30 seconds. So my time starts now. As a third speaker of the counting identify some cashmen. The first cashman I found is the effect of the refugees on host countries. The opponent has stated that refugees steal jobs. However, and they responded to our point by saying AI will take jobs. However, AI is a very unclear point, and if the problem of AI gets as worse as they have stated, I'm sure it will get control because government are just letting their people to live without a job. So I don't think they successfully do what they are doing. And also there's 1.5 million jobs needed in Europe, so refugees don't steal jobs. And refugees can benefit the countries through taxes, as I stated in our contention 1, and therefore they benefit the citizens' life too. The second catchment I found is all developed countries capable of taking in all the refugees coming. And I think, yes, there are only 1.4 million refugees who need relocation in the world. And think of how many developed countries are in Europe and think of the power they have. And I absolutely think developed countries have the capability of taking in refugees. And also, I want to mention that also the opponent have continued stating that refugees won't have a great life in developed countries. If we don't accept them, they will likely die. And how's that any better than getting some hatred from other people? And so